Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today we will be ranking the Beatles. So first here we've got the Jewel Beetle. This is a pretty basic beetle. It's a very cool color and I like its long antennas. But there are beetles better than it. So I'm gonna go with a B tier for this beetle. I really like the colors. Um, but later in this list, there's a similar looking one that is better. Now we've got the Goliath beetle, and this is a good beetle. This is an A tier beetle because it's very large, as you can see, and I think it's got a very interesting color scheme. Um, but it doesn't have long antennas, and they're pretty scary actually. Here we go with your basic stag beetle. Um, as you can see here, there's nothing really special about it, and we'll get to further in this video. We'll see better stags. This is a D tier beetle. Not really anything interesting about it. Pretty common beetle. Now we have the Asian lady beetle. Um, this is a pretty good beetle. Um, it's not your typical ladybug, as we'll get to later in this episode. Um, but it's a good beetle. Would I go A tier with it? I don't think so. Just because I think that's where the ladybug will go, and they're not on the same level, so it has to be B tier. Um, Here we have the fire researcher beetle. This is an S tier beetle. If you look at the design, it's got these horns. It's got antennas. Um, it's not very common, so it's more of a special type of beetle. Um, and all around, that's just a good beetle. Here we have the great diving beetle. This is a D tier beetle. I There's nothing special about it. It's a common beetle. Um, and I just don't really like it. Here we have the false potato. This is a fairly good beetle, and it has a funny name. Um, it doesn't really set itself apart from the Asian lady, so I'm gonna put that in B tier, along with the Asian lady beetle. Um, Here we have the Hercules beetle. This is an S tier beetle. It's massive. Um, it's got a really cool horn, and all around, that's a good beetle. Here now we have the dung beetle. This is also an S tier beetle, um, as you because it they they play with their poop, and I think that's funny. So it's definitely an S tier beetle. Next here we have the rhino beetle, or the rhinoceros beetle. This is a pretty good beetle. Um, Here's one thing I'll say about it. It wants to be a Hercules beetle, and it's just not. And I think there's some competition there, and that's a C tier beetle. That's all I have to say about that. Here we have a bark beetle. Um, I don't understand why it's called that because it is not a dog, and dogs go bark, not beetles. Um, this one can fly, which is very cool. But there's other beetles on this list that could fly. Would I go D tier with it? Maybe. If I'm feeling down. But I'll give it a C. I'll give it a C tier because it does have long antennas, and I'm a big fan of that. Here we have another stag beetle. This one definitely sets itself apart from the other stag beetle, which is right here. It's better, and that's an A tier beetle. Um, Here next we have the weevil. This is your most common type of beetle. This is the one you'll see flying around your house. It's a pretty basic beetle. Um, I like it. It's gonna go B tier. Because there's nothing, there's, you know what? It's actually C tier. There's nothing special about it, and why should I put it above the rhino beetle or the bark beetle, for example, when it's not doing anything special. Okay, so now we have the European stag beetle. This is gonna go C tier. It's definitely not as good as your common American stag beetle, and it's better than this, you know, little baby stag beetle. As you can see, it has red on it, but this one has even more red, so that's where it comes into play. Now we have your common ladybug. This is an A tier beetle. It's better than the other beetles, but it's not as good. It's not, you know, it's pretty common. You're not gonna have to go out searching for this bug, and that's why I think it's better than a lot of them, but it's not as good as, you know, the special ones like the ones we have in S tier. Now we have a green shield beetle. As you can see, he's blending into this apple or tomato of some kind here, and I I like this beetle, um, but I don't like it more than others. So that's a B tier beetle. It's pretty cool, but it doesn't live up to others. Now here we have the ant nest beetle, and this is a D tier beetle. It stays around with ants and just it wants to be an ant, but it's not, and so it's really sad all the time. Um, and I don't really care for it, you know. Now here we have the June beetle. This is a very common beetle you'll see during the summer, flying around. Some may call it a pest, but it's just a fun one to have around. It's a solid A tier, I will say. And finally, we have the Caucasus beetle, and it's been nicknamed the W because of this little thing. Although I don't see the second part of the W, so I don't know why people call it that. Maybe because of these horns. Um, anyway, this is an S tier beetle because it's doing a very similar thing to what the Hercules beetle is doing, but it's doing it very cool as well. And I can't, in my right mind, um, you know, put it anywhere near this Goliath beetle because it's way cooler. That was my Beatles tier list. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one where I will be rating ants.